And our political reporter Chris Tydro will be joining us later on in the bulletin just to tell us whether really we are facing cracks in the coalition. But into matters security agents have intensified a hunt for terrorists after an attack suspected to have been carried out by the Shabaab militia at a police post in Wajir. The police post is located on the Kenya-Somalia border. 3 people were injured, and this attack revives the question of tackling terror in Kenya, a question that has been closely linked to the presence of Kenyan troops fighting in Somalia. Our reporter Patrick Amimo now examines why it was necessary for Kenya to send its troops to Somalia and the possible exit strategies.
In October 2011, the Kenyan troops crossed into Somalia. The incursion, codenamed Operation Linda Nchi, was triggered by Al-Shabaab's increased activities of abducting tourists along the Kenya-Somalia border. The situation was made worse after Europe and United States of America issued travel advisories warning its citizens to keep off the Kenyan coast. This led to the near collapse of Kenya's tourism sector.
It's not the KDF that's at war, it's Kenya that's at war. We absolutely needed to contain Al-Shabaab outside of our territory. And the only way to do that is to go to where they are.
In November 2011, the Kenyan government agreed to rehat its forces under AMISOM command. Kenya took the responsibility for intelligence and logistics, Uganda operations and engineering, while Burundi took planning and communication. The maximum number of troops allowed for AMISOM is 22,126. Kenya currently has 3,664 troops, after it pulled out a battalion when 850 Sierra Leonean troops arrived. Sierra Leone withdrew its troops in December 2014, and AMISOM has not found a replacement. Kenyan troops have been inside Somalia for 4.5 years, assisting the Somali National Army crush the Al-Shabaab militants. The mission has recorded successes.
Kenya went into Kismayo, the port of Kismayo. Significantly, the issue of the economic backbone of the Al-Shabaab was reduced. If you look at the issue of abductions, it has significantly calmed down.
By creating a functional, stable, effective state in Somalia, the opportunity for terrorist groups and other miscreants of that ilk to proliferate or be effective is diminished. And so in that sense, KDF, as part of AMISOM, is making a significant contribution to peace, stability, and security in the region.
Although Al-Shabaab insurgents are on a back pedal following AMISOM troops' onslaught, the militants have now adopted hit-and-run tactics and use of vehicle-borne improvised explosive devices. They have also targeted soft spots in Kenya. For instance, the Westgate shopping mall attack in September 2013 and the Garissa University attack in April last year.
We are not beating a dead donkey. They're active, aggressive, and we need to counter them. By creating fear, doubts, and a sense of vulnerability in the population, they hope to weaken our resolve and make us look inwards and fail to understand what our long-term interests are. Westgate or Garissa, they're very painful, but we must understand them in the larger context of what these cowardly attackers sought to achieve, and we must deny them that win.
Where the Kenyan government has really scored in terms of reducing these attacks is the issue of utilization of intelligence.
AMISOM was created by the African Union's Peace and Security Council in January 2007, with the UN Security Council approving its mandate a month later. What could be Kenya's exit strategy from Somalia?
We are part of the African Union, which is mandated by the United Nations. And so Kenya pulling out, it would be merely pulling out of people out of a group that is helping support our national security. It doesn't make any sense. And so the exit strategy is the full achievement of the AMISOM and UNSOM missions in Somalia.
The first one, we can use the issue of a time-led exit strategy. Secondly, we can decide to look at the objectives of going into Somalia. Have we achieved the objectives, if there was any in the first place? The third objective that we can use is the issue of the democratic process. Remember that there is an election in Somalia in 2016, this year actually. You remember an election comes with legitimacy. So the Kenyan government actually can ride on the back of the impending elections and say that now, since we have delivered a free and fair election, then we need to move back our troops. The last one, and which I know it will not be very easy, and this is what Shabaab has really tried to force to Kenyans, is what we call the abrupt exit. Remember the Elade. These kind of attacks are actually meant to instill fear and make people to start saying that we need to bring our forces back. Yeah. So if that will happen, if an abrupt exit will happen, then it may be actually catastrophic.
On Friday night, Abdirashid Bukdube, a top Al-Shabaab commander for Janahale in the Lower Shabelle region of Somalia, together with 22 other terrorists, were killed following airstrikes and ground offensive against militants' hideout. Patrick Amimo, KTN News.